Moses had already done the impossible so many times it almost looked normal. He had faced Pharaoh, broken Egypt's grip, led slaves into freedom, and split the sea in half like opening a door. He moved millions through the desert with no map, no backup plan, and constant complaints. So by now, whenever disaster appeared, people expected one thing: Moses would fix it. And usually he did, which made this next moment almost unbelievable. He guided slaves to freedom and stumbled exactly where he thought he was strongest. The latest crisis arrived under a scorching desert sun. There was no water, again. Jars were empty, tempers were short. Children cried. Adults complained with the confidence of people contributing nothing. Soon the crowd turned toward Moses. Why bring us here? Was Egypt better? Are we supposed to die in this sand? Some shouted, some groaned. Some just stared in silence, the ancient version of posting angry comments. For Moses, this was familiar territory. Same desert, same panic, same emergency with slightly updated wording. And that familiarity was dangerous, because when people solve the same problem enough times, they stop listening carefully. They start assuming. So Moses stepped away and sought guidance. The instruction he received was surprisingly simple. Take the staff, gather the people, speak to the rock. That was all. No dramatic motion, no giant display, no complicated miracle sequence, just speak. Simple instructions often frustrate experienced people. They expect something bigger, something harder, something worthy of their history. Instead, Moses got the easiest command imaginable. Talk to a rock, and in his hand was the staff, the famous one, the staff of plagues, signs, wonders, and sea-splitting memories. The kind of object that can quietly whisper dangerous thoughts. You know how this works. He walked toward the rock as the people gathered behind him. Some expected water, some expected shouting. Some were there because tension is excellent entertainment. Everything looked under control. That was the problem. It's the CEO who saved the company, then loses control in a feedback meeting. It's the coach who wins titles, then explodes over a minor call. It's the expert driver who finishes a 1,000-mile trip, then hits the wall while parking. Big battles make people cautious. Small moments make them careless. The danger wasn't the crisis. It was the old confidence in his own strength. Because Moses remembered what worked before: lift the staff, strike something, do something visible, use force, use what succeeded last time. But this time the instruction had changed. No striking, no old method, no performance, just obedience so simple it almost felt too small to matter. The people waited. The desert wind moved through the camp. The rock said nothing, which was rude but consistent. The staff rested in Moses' hand like a trophy from old victories. Pressure rose, eyes watched, thirst complained, silence stretched. One sentence could solve everything. Just speak. But easy instructions are often the hardest to trust, especially for people used to being effective, especially for leaders used to taking action, especially for men still gripping yesterday's success. Moses tightened his hand around the staff. The crowd leaned forward, and the easiest instruction became the perfect trap. The crowd was still waiting. The rock was still silent, and Moses was still standing in front of millions of thirsty people who had decided this was, somehow, a leadership issue. From a distance, it looked simple. People needed water. But inside Moses, something else was happening. The people asked for water. Moses heard attack. That is how pressure works. Requests stop sounding like requests. Questions start sounding like insults. And after enough repetition, even normal words can feel aggressive. This was not the first complaint, not the 10th, not the 100th. For years, the people had panicked, doubted, argued, compared the present to Egypt, and spoken as if every hardship were a shocking surprise, which was bold behavior for people living in a desert. Moses had carried all of it: responsibility, conflict, expectation, daily chaos on a national scale, and patience, unlike miracles, can run out quietly. The people were thirsty. Moses was exhausted, a dangerous combination. Because exhaustion changes perspective. Minor problems feel personal. Simple questions feel disrespectful, waiting faces feel hostile, and ordinary noise feels unbearably loud. Around him the crowd kept talking. Some complained openly, some muttered to each other, some just stared with folded arms, the timeless body language of disappointment. No one touched him. No one threatened him. No one needed to. Public pressure has its own weight. It's the manager flooded with emails who snaps at the message that says, "Just checking in." It's the parent surviving chaos all day, then overreacting to one dropped spoon. It's the driver who handles an hour of traffic, then loses peace in the parking lot. Big collapses rarely begin with giant disasters. They begin with accumulated annoyance. Moses tightened his grip on the staff, not because it helped. Because irritated people enjoy holding objects with significance. The voices kept coming. Needs were real, tone was terrible. Inside him, frustration kept evolving. Fatigue became irritation. Irritation became anger. Anger became the desire to answer sharply. And once someone stops trying to solve the problem, they usually start trying to win the moment. That shift is expensive, because now the issue is no longer water. Now it is pride. The people still wanted relief. Moses now wanted something else, to make a point. That urge has damaged many careers, friendships, meetings, and perfectly normal afternoons. The instruction had been clear: speak to the rock. But clarity does not cancel emotion. Knowing the right response and wanting the right response are different skills. The desert wind moved through the camp. Dust crossed the ground. The people kept waiting. Moses kept heating up. He had power. He had authority. He had experience. He had history. What he lacked in that moment was emotional filter, prophet of the desert, patience of public Wi-Fi, inbox full, patience empty. Everything now narrowed into a few dangerous seconds. Not the sea, not Pharaoh, not famine, just one reaction. Because history often turns on moments too small to notice while they happen. Moses looked at the crowd, then at the rock, then back at the crowd, and the next reaction would define destiny, not reputation. The camp went silent. Millions of thirsty people, one dry rock, one angry leader, and a pause so tense it felt expensive. Moses stood before the crowd with the staff in his hand. The instruction had been clear: speak to the rock. Short, simple, unmistakable. But anger has a habit of rewriting clear instructions into dramatic alternatives, and Moses was no longer calm. The voices of the crowd still rang in his ears. The complaints, the blame, the endless tone of people needing help while acting offended about it. They wanted water. Moses wanted release. Those are very different goals. He looked at the people, then at the rock, then back at the people. The staff tightened in his hand. That gesture alone changed everything. The people knew that staff. They had seen it raised over plagues, over the sea, over moments when impossible things suddenly became history. When Moses lifted the staff, something big usually followed. This time, something smaller caused more damage. He was told to speak. He chose to strike. Mandated to speak, he hit twice. Crack, then crack again. 2 sharp blows against stone, quick, hard, public. The kind of reaction that says less about the target and more about the person swinging. For one breathless second, nothing moved. Then water burst from the rock. Streams poured across the ground, people ran forward, jars filled, children shouted, families drank. Relief spread through the camp instantly. From the outside, it looked like another legendary success. The crowd got water. The crisis was solved. The leader appeared effective. But appearances are generous. Heaven had seen the method. That is where many failures hide. Inside successful outcomes, it's sending the angry email and still getting approval. It's winning the argument and losing the relationship. It's hitting the goal while damaging the team that reached it. Visible results can hide invisible costs. Water kept flowing. So did consequence. Moses had used force where trust was required. He had used habit where obedience was required. He had used anger where restraint was required. And because the miracle still happened, the mistake became harder to notice. That is the danger of wrong methods that still produce results. People start calling them wisdom. The crowd kept celebrating. Some laughed with relief. Some washed dust from their faces. Some probably congratulated Moses, which made the moment strangely tragic. He looked strong, he looked decisive, he looked successful. But not every victory survives inspection. Miracle came out, obedience stayed behind. The staff lowered slowly. Water rushed over the desert floor. The noise of relief filled the air. Yet something irreversible had already happened. 2 strikes of a staff. 1 strike against the future. Because reactions do not end when the emotion ends. They continue quietly, in memory, in trust, in consequences that arrive later and feel sudden. The people drank. The leader would learn the bill comes later. For a few moments, everything looked perfect. Water rushed through the camp. People laughed, children splashed in puddles that did not exist 5 minutes earlier. Empty jars became full jars, dry mouths became grateful mouths, and millions of people suddenly forgot they had been furious. A classic crowd habit. The crisis had ended so quickly it almost erased the tension that came before it. Almost. Because some consequences arrive loudly. Others arrive with terrifying calm. Moses stood near the flowing water, staff in hand, breathing in the strange silence that follows public chaos. He had delivered results, again. The people were relieved. The nation could move forward. From the outside, this looked like another successful day of leadership, which is exactly why it was dangerous, because visible success can delay invisible judgment. Then came the words, no celebration could drown out. He would not lead the people into the promised land. Not after this. Not after the rock. Not after replacing instruction with anger. The sentence landed heavier than any desert stone. After everything, after Pharaoh, after the sea, after the years, after carrying complaints strong enough to exhaust mountains, he would guide them to the edge. And stop there. That kind of consequence is hard for people to understand, especially modern people. We are used to immediate feedback. Wrong password, instant error. Late payment, instant fee. Bad post online, instant comments. But some of life's biggest costs are delayed. They arrive after applause, after results, after everyone assumes things went fine. It's hitting the quarterly target, then getting fired for how you led the team. It's winning the case and then losing your reputation. It's finishing first and realizing no one wants to run with you again. Moses had solved the external problem, but leadership is not judged only by outcomes. It is judged by process, posture, and trust. And in one heated moment, all 3 took damage. The water had been instant. The invoice was lifelong. Around him, the people celebrated what they could see. Water, relief, movement, progress. Moses now had to live with what only he could fully feel. Distance. The promised land still existed. He just would not enter it. That is a particular kind of pain. To spend your life building something you will only view from afar. To carry others to a destination that closes at your arrival. The staff suddenly felt different in his hand. Less like a symbol of victory, more like evidence. The same object once associated with miracles now stood beside a memory of misused strength. No crowd noticed the shift. Why would they? They had water. Leaders often absorb costs privately while everyone else enjoys public benefits. The celebration continued. But Moses now understood something the crowd did not. Moments can end long before consequences do. The desert wind moved through the camp again. Water still crossed the ground. Voices still rose in gratitude. Yet between the staff and the promise, silence had opened. He had delivered the result, and still lost the reward. Delivered KPI, lost the bonus. Harsh, accurate. And while the people drank and laughed around him, the verdict remained unchanged. When the staff came down, the sentence was already written. The water was gone by then. Not instantly, of course. People drank it, used it, moved on, complained about something else, and continued being impressively consistent. The crowd remembered the miracle. History remembered the moment, but the deeper lesson lived somewhere else. Moses did not lose for lack of power. He lost for lack of pause. That is harder to notice. Power failures are obvious. Pause failures look harmless right until they become expensive. And the whole story can be told in one quick chain: pressure, irritation. Reaction outside the script, water, veto. A few seconds of reaction can rewrite years of progress. It did not begin with evil plans. It began with something far more common: stress, fatigue, built-up frustration, the quiet belief that experience can replace listening. That pattern still works remarkably well today. It's the executive who hits every target while destroying team morale. It's the parent who cares deeply but answers sharply. It's the talented employee who keeps winning tasks and losing trust. It's the person saying, "I know what I'm doing," moments before proving otherwise. Sometimes the biggest mistake is not breaking the rule. It is proving you no longer think you need it. That was the hidden danger. Moses had authority, history, credibility, decades of success, and all of those things can become tools or traps, because past victories often whisper terrible advice. You've done enough. You know enough. You can improvise now. That voice has ended many strong stories. The instruction had been simple: speak. Instead, he acted, and people still repeat that mistake every day. They stop listening and start performing. They stop trusting and start forcing. They stop responding and start reacting. It feels small in the moment, then enormous afterward. Leadership is simple: listen, speak, and do not hit things. Easy to say, much harder under pressure. The failure was not public first. It was personal first. Long before the staff struck the rock, irritation had already struck the leader. Long before the crowd saw the reaction had been building unseen. That is how many losses happen. They appear sudden. They were growing quietly. People imagine collapse as dramatic. Thunder, chaos, one shocking scene. Usually it is subtler, a shorter temper, a faster reply, one impulsive decision dressed as confidence. Moses moved sea and sky, but stumbled on his own voice. That may be the most modern part of the story. Many people can survive crisis. Fewer can survive irritation. Many can handle giant moments. Fewer can handle ordinary pressure repeated daily. And that is why this ancient story still feels current. Careers, friendships, teams, families, and futures still change the same way. Not by lack of talent, not by lack of opportunity, not by lack of power, by excess impulse. And in the end, it was not lack of miracle. It was excess of impulse.